Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to make the Fancy Rings bracelet. This is my latest original design, and as you can see, it's made up of a thicker part down the middle and then some fancy rings on the outside. So, this bracelet is not too hard to make. It only requires one loom, but you're going to have to go in the opposite direction as the bar pins were made for, kind of go against how it was designed, and so that makes it a little bit more difficult, but I'll explain it as we go along. So here it is, the Fancy Rings bracelet. To set up your loom for this bracelet, you're going to need 3 bar pins, your large base, and 2 small bases. So first, take one of your bar pins, and you're going to have it facing this way, arrows pointing this way. And then you're going to take another bar pin and have it aligned so as to be the same as the other pin, except the arrows are facing the opposite direction. And then you're going to place this last bar pin just like you did the first, so that they're all aligned, except for the one in the middle is facing the opposite direction. And now you're going to secure the 2 ends with your small bases. And we're ready to start putting some bands on the loom. So, first, we're going to be starting here, and what we're going to do is go up the loom, and then once we get up here, we're going to go back around the loom, and then back this way a little bit. And that's just so we can make the bracelet long enough. So take whichever color you want to be in the very center. For example, in this bracelet, it's the jelly green that goes up the center. That's going to be the first bands that you place. So I'm going to be using gray in this bracelet. So you're just going to take a single band, go from the first pin to the second, second to third, third to fourth, just like a normal single chain. And we're going to do this all the way up, like I showed you. And then we're going to go around just like we're trying to make a really, really long single chain. But we're not going to make a really long single chain. We're going to make a Fancy Rings bracelet. So, once you get to this point, what you're going to do is simply place a band from this peg to this one, and then you are going to start going up again. And once you get down to this other end down here, you're going to do the same thing from this pin to this pin, and I'm just going to place about 3 more bands, and then I'll stop right about here because that's long enough to go around my wrist. And I've got a pretty big wrist, so if your wrist is pretty small, you may want to stop at this peg, but if not, go on ahead for a little bit. Again, once you get to this point, just place a band from this peg to this peg, and then I'm just going to go not far down this bar pin, just to about here. Actually, I'm not going to put that last one, I'm just going to do it this long. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to do that except the inverse. So what that means is we're going to start here and place our next bands this way. So it's kind of opposite the way the loom is made, so it's going to make it a little bit difficult, but it's going to be worth it for the end result. So this time it's going to be the bands that will end up being the outside of the main bracelet structure. So in this bracelet it's the dark green, and in this bracelet I'm going to be using white. So for these it's going to be the same thing except using doubled bands. So starting at that first pin, we're going to go to the next one, and then the next, and all these are going to be doubled bands, and it will continue on in the same fashion until we go all the way up back down to here. And once we've gotten to the end here, you're going to want to just go back and kind of push down on all those bands. Make sure they're all towards the bottom. Don't push down so much as to confuse the gray and the white bands together, or whatever colors you're using, just enough to make some space for the next bands. So next we're going to be placing our fancy rings, and you're going to take whatever color you're using for those, and these are just going to be single bands, and we're going to start not on this first peg but this second peg here, and you're going to go up 3 pegs, so peg 2 to peg 4, and then your next band will be your next fancy ring, and it will go from peg 2 to peg 5. And so each of these bands is going to go over 3 pegs, and it's just going to start on the next peg in line each time. And again, we're going to do this all the way down to the end of our bracelet. But for the rings, we're not going to go back as we did with the gray and white bands. We're just going to go up to the end. So once you've gotten to this point, you're going to make these bands go around here just as you did with these bands. It's going to be a little bit more complicated, but not too much. So this is your next peg that you'll be starting on, and you're still going to be covering the 3 next pegs. And so you're going to make a little triangle shape here, and then you're going to start on this peg and cover 3 more pegs. And now this is the next peg you're going to place one on, and it will go on 3 pegs as well. And then it gets pretty normal again. So you're going to do that same thing once you get to the next end of the loom as well. Technically, if you wanted to, you could set up your bar pins in a straight line that just went on really far instead of going around the corners like this just to make it longer. But I think that would not be as stable, and it would be much more liable for your loom to fall apart, bands to fall off, and you wouldn't want that. So this is the simpler solution, I guess. And here as well, you're going to place your band around the 3 pegs, make a little triangle, and then again with these 3 pegs, and then you're going to place just one more, and you're going to stop once you get to here, so you won't have any fancy rings on this peg or this peg, but you will have some on all the pegs in between. So now we just need to place our cap band, and we are ready to start looping. The first place we're going to start looping is down here, and we're going to loop all the way to here and then all the way back, and I'll explain that as we go. So take whatever color was your color that you placed first for your bands in the center, and you're going to make a cap band and place it on this first peg here. And this is where it starts getting a little bit more difficult, because we have to go against the way that the loom was made. First, take your hook and go into this gray cap band here and grab these doubled bands and kind of hold the cap band in place with your thumb, and you're going to loop the doubled band back up to itself. Now you're going to be going into these bands here. Make sure you're on the inside of the ring and your doubled bands there, and pull your next doubled band through. And you're going to do the same thing on this one. Just go inside all those bands, tilt your hook out to get the doubled bands, and pull it up and over to itself. And we're going to be doing this all the way down the loom. I promise this is the hardest part of this bracelet, because you're having to kind of loop backwards, in a sense. Once we get to this corner, don't let all the bands confuse you. It's the same thing. You're just going to pull the doubled band up into itself, then turning your loom a bit, and be careful so that you don't pull any bands off the loom as you do this. And then you're going to turn this way, and you're going to continue to do this until you get down to here. So, once you've gotten to the end, what you're going to do is, starting here, we're going to loop up these gray bands on the bottom all the way back around. So to start, we're going to go into all these bands. Get this gray band, get it around those corners, and place it on the next peg. And it's going to be the same all the way down. Go inside all of the bands to get the gray, and pull it up back to itself. This part is much easier because you are going in the direction that the loom was made for, so you've got the hole in the peg to help you out, and you're just going to go around this part just like normal. And there's probably going to be quite a bit of tension on this corner. You may want to put your hook in there and help loosen it up a bit. And then you're going to continue in this pattern until you get all the way back to the start. Alright, so we've made it to the end of our bracelet, and there's no more looping to be done. So now you can grab your C-clip or whatever clips you use, and you're going to clip the four bands that are on this peg here that you started at. So take your clip and get all 4 of those on here. And now you can begin to take your bracelet off of the loom. There you go. There is your bracelet. You can pull on it to adjust it, and the rings themselves are fairly adjustable, so you can either get them all lined up, or you can pull some out a little bit further just to kind of make a pattern or whatever you want to do with them. And you can even those out, and you're going to go back around here, and it looks like these could pull out and the bracelet could unravel, but due to this gray band here, it's not going to. It's good. So you're going to take those 4 ends right there and get them on your hook as well, like so. And there you have your completed Fancy Rings bracelet. Hope you like this bracelet. Make sure to like this video and comment and subscribe to Epic Bracelets for more awesome tutorials coming soon. Thanks for watching.